Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. We're so glad you're with us to stay curious today, kicking off the end of October, October 28th, 2024. So glad you're with us today. Got Marty Winkle on the Streamlabs board there, and we've got John Graham with us, like Graham Cracker, John Graham. I keep wanting to call him John Grissom because I turn every day from my home and get on Grissom Highway, and that is so cool that I do that. But grateful for John Graham. His wife is Space Coast Sam. They're going to be involved with our production here and produce some programs for us. We're all excited about that. As you all know, that we have Executive Director Gabriel Rothblatt and myself as museum director, effective immediately. We've kind of getting our duties spread out and all that sort of stuff. And we're just looking for great things. All I want to do is bring all of our partners together. That we've got a great inner circle of friends like the USIAC brothers and Carlton Bailey, launch photographer, outstanding artist Chris Calley, and all of you loyal fans out there from Dave Stange to Steve Jokums. Steve Jokums and I are particularly happy as he's flying the red flag of Ferrari over his house, all for you get to fly it for another week up there as Ferrari took 1 and 2 in the Mexican Grand Prix of the Formula One racing. And I like that because it is as sophisticated as the space program, the most advanced vehicles racing on the face of the earth. And so happy with them. I know with Ferrari there. So there you are, Steve. Happy Monday to you, Dave Stange. Thank you. We're all rolling into the end of October here. And again, so grateful for everybody. Send us some pictures. There's one from Bill Whiting to just let us Floridians know a little bit about the foliage just changing up there. And I do miss that, Marty. The seasonal change is so fun. But then when them bare trees in Tennessee, I don't like that because you see everybody's uh, used cars and buildings and so forth. When the trees come down, you go, gee, I didn't know they had that old jalopy over there or that looked like that. But that's everywhere we live, just not uh, Appalachia. But what a pretty picture that is, Bill Whiting. We certainly miss you down here. We understand that you're doing great things. And first and third, Mark. Yes, thank you for correcting me. Leclerc got passed by Norris. And I'm sorry, Connie McDaniel will never forgive me for that, as McLaren did finish second. So, but you're still flying the flag, your flag outside your home there. I know you are, Steve, for that wonderful Carlos Sainz victory, his second in a row, in fact. So, what a great Formula One season it is. And if you, I think it was on ABC the next last week and this week, and check it out if you want. So, uh, autumn's in the air. We've got our annual memorabilia show. We're doing it twice a year at Beachside Hotel. Hung out there a lot this weekend as my sister came in from Texas and just really had a great time this weekend with her. You'll see why here in just a minute. But our memorabilia show, if you're local, come buy something for yourself or a space geek, or if you want to know how much that Neil Armstrong autograph is worth and is it real, we have Bid Again Auctions. Chuck Jeffrey, our chief operating officer and a board member and one of my best friends on the Space Coast here. Chuck will be there giving appraisals, as will Ken Havicott. We've tried to get a couple astronauts autograph books, but that fell through. Uh, Jan Davis said she'll do it sometime, as will Don Thomas. Both were just so close to coming, but had prior commitments. But we're going to get a autograph session lined up when we do it in February. I think it'll be the Saturday after Valentine's Day is when we do it in February. And then Shuttle Fest will be in April. So lots of opportunity to buy some space swag or talk to people about that. So uh, hope to see you Saturday at Beachside Hotel. A dozen vendors, a lot of great fellowship from 9 to 3. And you can come there and meet some of our nonprofit volunteers as well as some just great people. And who knows who will drop by. I'll bet Mr. Jay Honeycutt will drop by, former center director. Mike McCulley might come by to. If he does, Mike, if you come by, Mike, I'll buy you a beer there. So uh, have a good time and help the museum by selling some of our surplus goods that we're trying to turn that money over to our collections manager, Nick Enoch, so he's got an opportunity to shape our museum exhibits in a more professional way. So, uh, promoting the Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex is always so kind to us. This is at the Astronaut Remembrance Memorial there beneath the Saturn or beneath the Space Shuttle Atlantis. Of course, Richard or President Ronald Reagan's famous words that he said to memorialize the Challenger astronauts: the future does not belong to the faint-hearted, it belongs to the brave. And we have been trying to go back to the moon since Ronald Reagan's days and still haven't made it back. And maybe they need to take this to heart a little bit, because a lot of the old engineers think that we're too much risk adverse to risks, and you can have risk assessment, but you also have to take risks. So hope to build a great bridge to the Kennedy Space Center to do more things with them too. Well, on the braggadocious side, over the weekend, I was awarded the Harry Kolcum Communications Award, and was so pleased that you'll see a picture of some of our staff that was there, including Marty and my sister, Cher Matthews, came from Texas, and we, of course, communicated over emails and Facebook and all that, but we hadn't physically been around each other for about 6 years. So, so happy my little sister got a great vacation out of it down here. And here's the award that I was given, and kind of a nice, what do you call this? Plastic, there's a name for it. Acrylic. But, yeah, acrylic there. Presented by the National Space Club, the Florida Committee, which I'm a board member of, and just a cool little thing to display, hopefully here at the museum. I love to display it at my home, but more people will probably see it here. This is a museum award, and Marty knows that when I got up and accepted it, that was about the first thing I said. Couldn't do it without this museum. It represents what the museum's all about, and I was just a blessed man to be communicating what's been going on, and help bring us to a new level here. And we're looking at wonderful things in the future here for us. So we'll talk about that to end the show here. So stay curious, show you a couple pictures of the event. And the National Space Club hasn't posted theirs yet, so when they do, I'll show you some of the other people that won awards there. I could read them off to you, but it's better with the pictures. And we've got a lunar rover story here that my notes. Where are my notes? Here's my notes over here. On this date, October 28th, 1969, the contract was given out for the lunar rover. Now that's right, we'd already landed on the moon. Okay. And where are my notes for that? I got that. Should have had it sitting right here. I don't think it's over there. October 28th. Well, where did I put that? I'm so organized half the time, but not today. Here's the 29th, Aries. We're going to talk about the Aries 1 launch. Would you believe that's 1X launch? Maybe that's 15 years ago. Oh, there it is. The lunar rover was built by Boeing in Seattle, Washington. Electronics and navigation system. The vehicle testing would take place at their Boeing facility in Kent, Washington, and the general assembly of it was in Huntsville, Alabama. But more importantly, today in 1969, they gave the contract for the rover. Now, October 28th, we'd already landed on the moon in July and getting ready to launch Apollo 12 to the moon. So when you're critical of the Artemis program not having all of their hardware put together, like the lunar, they're calling it the Human Landing System, HLS, Apollo was the same way. Stuff was still done on the fly and tested and all that. So I found that very interesting, and this was the day. And Marty found it so interesting that his question of the day is, go ahead, Marty.
Apollo 17 set the lunar rover speed record. How fast did it go?
There you go. How fast did it
It's
go?
not as fast as your Indy cars, Mark.
Pardon me?
Not as fast as your Indy cars.
No, they're not fast as those Indy cars or the Formula One cars that were hitting 212 miles an hour at the end of the straightaway in Mexico and then braking for about a 50-mile-an-hour turn. I would, and I've seen people like the commentators drive in those, and it'd make me sick. Let's see, we got Man Space, Mitch Rothman, looking forward to this weekend. He'll be at the show. I'm looking forward to seeing you, Mitch, and telling you all the good things going on and seeing how you can plug into it. Gary Gerald's up there in Collins, Georgia. Good to see you, my friend. Doug Forrest with 2 R's is in Los Angeles area. Go over there and take a picture for me, Doug, of what the Endeavor looks like going up there to the center there. I could run some from other sources, but maybe you'll get by there and show it to me. And what's Carlton Bailey say? Howdy, howdy, Monday, Mark Marty, and around the museum minions, and he's supporting his animals out there. And Lucite, yes, and thank you, Carlton Bailey was on the show Friday when we talked about this award, and he could certainly win this award with his 700 rocket launches and 4 decades covering the Space Center. And thank you, brother. He said, I can only think of one other person I'd rather see win it, but it would beating him. But you deserve it. So not all jealous about it. So thank you very, very much. So Steve Jokums has got a reply there. We'll get that later. And Dave Stange also has got a reply there. So we'll save that at the end of the show. But those are two good guesses there. Maybe you've got another guess there. So we want to move on here, and I want to say a belated happy birthday because his birthday was yesterday. Mike Baker turned 71 years old yesterday. Just saw him out to Space Center, and I didn't even wish him a happy birthday. But I'm doing it now, Bakes. I forgot about with having everything, my sister out there, and kind of a hot day yesterday out there. We got tired on our feet. Michael Allen Baker was born October 27th, 1853, in Memphis, Tennessee, but he considers Lemoore, California to be his hometown, where he grew up and went to Lemoore Union High School. I'm sure he goes back there and tells all the girls out there, "How do you like me now?" Because, but he's a great guy. Really, Marty and I love taking him out. That's why he can't go out to dinner with us this cycle, because he's going out with all his buddies, buying him beers after his stint. He's the astronaut of the day out at the Space Center. 40 days in space on 4 shuttle missions, about 10 days each. He is a Navy, went to the Naval Pilot School and won all kinds of distinguished Flying Cross awards. Went to the University of Texas in Austin. All right. He tells me that when George Abbey, when he was interviewed to be an astronaut, right in front of George Abbey and John Young and some other ones, George Abbey said, "Oh, University of Tennessee, huh?" And Mike says he looked up at him and said, "So you didn't get a very good education, huh?" And Mike said, "I didn't know what to say." And John Young turned to his buddy George Abbey, who is over the Johnson Space Center operations. John Young said, "Come on, George, don't start that stuff now." On there. So they do anything to try to throw you off. You know why? Because Jay Honeycutt, who was in on this, Marty, he said once you got to that interview, all of them were qualified. Okay, you got there, you were qualified to be an astronaut. They wanted to probe into your personality a little bit and see how you would react with 4, 5, 6, or 7 people all in one little spaceship together or on the space station. So Mike is really unique because he did a stint after his NASA career. He's twice a pilot, twice a commander. He was the second pilot to dock with the International Space Station there on STS 81 in January 87. He was a Capcom, but after his uh, flying career was over, um, he became the director of operations at Star City. And from October 97 to 2001, he was assistant director for human spaceflight programs in Russia and responsible for the integration of the human spaceflight program. In other words, putting NASA astronauts on the Soyuz spacecraft. And he's got a lot of stories about that, and he's selling some of his uh, photographs and autographed things that he got in Russia and did quite well at the last auction. When we pointed his stuff out, we'll point him out again. So uh, happy birthday, Mike Baker, out there. And by the way, look at my fashions I'm wearing here. Look at my new Snoopy shirt because my birthday is Sunday, November 3rd, and Marty got me this early because Marty's going to be going up and tend to some family business up in Long Island. So Marty gave me this early. I love it. Boy, it feels so good. And but Marty, that's what I needed was more gray hair or gray on my gray hair. Okay. But now I'm completely a snowball of white and gray. But thank you, my friend. He's like the big brother I never had, and he's just a great human being. And thank you so much. This shirt feels so good, and I know I'm making Dave Stangy, maybe even Tommy Usiak out there uh, jealous. And Tom just said, "Good afternoon." That's a beautiful Lucite Award, my friend. And you have a piece of this. You really do. I can't emphasize enough how I just enjoy connecting people, getting the stories out there. Uh, and I do enjoy working hard at this. It's been my passion all my life, and my sister knows that. You're going to see a picture of her here in a minute, and she was so proud of her big brother, but she's been seeing me do this since I was 8 years old. So, uh, all right, happy birthday, Mike Baker. There's a great picture of him in our museum, uh, and there he is on Stay Curious. Been on a couple shows, really good shows. We need to, and John's helping us. John Graham's helping us. Going to be more mobile, where I can go out there and just talk to Mike out there at the hotel where he's staying at. So uh, wonderful, wonderful guy, and it's so great to know some of these astronauts on a business personal relationship. Okay. Well, the highlight of today's program is 15 years ago. We were going to the moon with the Constellation program, all right? And Ares 1X was the way we are going to get on there with the Orion spacecraft, the same Orion spacecraft 15 years ago that 2 years ago, not the same spacecraft, but the same concept, 2 years ago was Artemis 1 launch that went around the moon. And the same spacecraft, different rocket launched it. This was a solid rocket booster that worked quite well. And now we got the SLS system that's two solid rocket boosters and a big, huge tank for it. But this was a concept that was thrown away, quite frankly. $445 million project, successfully launched October 28th, 2009. And these are photographs of Carlton Bailey. I love it when you can get a beautiful color in the sky like Carlton did here. Um, they were intended to launch the Orion crew exploration vehicles along with the Ares 5 launch system and an Altair lunar lander. All right, there's a beautiful postcard shot that Carlton did of the gantry that was out there. All right, this was on a mobile launch platform that an MLP that went out to a gantry that was left over from the shuttle. And this was pad 39B, I believe. And on pad 39A at the time was STS 129. ready to launch in 2009. Remember, the shuttle program ended in July 2011. So we were actually doing something for a new program while the existing program lasted. But when President, this was, of course, a Reagan Jr., so to speak, uh, presidency. And then when President Obama's administration took over, they enlisted the Augustine Commission to do a full independent review, and they found that the current Constellation program to be woefully under budgeted with significant cost overruns and behind schedule by 4 years or more, and unlikely to be able to meet its goal of going on the moon by 2024. So Obama really didn't do much of a moon program, but he did a great thing in creating a private space sector at the spaceport, where, of course, you know the rest of the story. Uh, SpaceX has just launched its 74th or 5th launch Saturday, which is a new record. Every launch now at Cape Canaveral or Cape Kennedy is a new record for launches here on the Space Coast. So this happens a lot depending on who is in office: red, blue, green, white, yellow, whatever. Everyone's got their own ideas and wants to put the stamp on it. I say let's just turn this whole moon business over to the private industry of SpaceX and Blue Origin, let them pay for it with a little bit of minimum of taxpayer money, and I think it'll get done. But the current program of Artemis is in the same situation. Cost overruns, not enough money in the pipeline to sustain building the hardware. So, what can you say? And we will start doing some programs to lay out the facts of that. Okay, but don't hold your breath about we're going with Artemis. Okay, I wish we were, but this vehicle has now been in production 15 years on top of a rocket and 4 or 5 years of pre-production before that. This is a 20-year program, Marty, and they not put people in it yet. So those are my personal comments, not our foundation or the museum, by the way. There is the launch at 7:05 a.m. No, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. They had another flight test on there, but this is October 28th, 104 it's something in the afternoon, I think. Great shot there. That's a solid rocket. You can't turn it off once it starts. That's kind of always looks weird to me, where it's skinnier than the second stage above it. There's your maximum Q pressure on the vehicle. Beautiful atmospheric outline around it that Carlton caught up there. It had an escape tower on it, of course. And there is Tom Usiak in the back and his brother Mark in the front, putting that Carlton took, putting out photos that took, I mean, they're cameras that took photos like the one you're seeing here. I believe Mark put on his Facebook page some of his pictures, remember him 15 years ago. So can you imagine there might be an alligator right behind you, and certainly mosquitoes all around you, and you don't know what's going on. And
More likely a snake.
what an excellent shot to show that launch photographers they got some chutzpah, let's say. They got to be aware of their environment, and then they have to protect their equipment from rain, because they're setting the cameras out there a day or two before the launch, and then it could rain on them or whatever. And so there's our buddies there, the Usiak brothers, that we're going to do some wonderful things down the line with their artwork. So let's see, I got another picture. Oh yeah, there's Mark in the foreground taking pictures. There's 4 photographers there. One's on a truck, others around there to get you the idea. And a great shot, Carlton did. A perfect photojournalism shot, not emphasizing the rocket launch, but the people out there capturing these fabulous images. And there's your streak your rocket, solid rocket streak, so to speak, of smoke that Carlton got there as the Ares 1X first stage prototype uh, launched beautifully, just perfectly. Uh, it went out to 30,000 miles away from the Earth, kind of did a U-turn and came back to basically test the reentry heat shield that was just fine. And there it is on its landing out in the ocean with the ship in the background there. And you can see this now at the Gateway exhibit at Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex. All right. There's a close up of it. That's my Halloween picture. That looks like a jack o' lantern to me. But that's the real item that was out there that flew to space and back. And when I saw that first time 7 years ago, I'm thinking, all right, this is a ship that's going to take us to the moon. Still haven't put any people in it yet. Of course, as you know, there's the Ares rocket launch with our good friend Nick Thomas and Wendy Williams, astronaut, nicknamed Too Short. And actually, Nick has got Bakes's STS 91, was it?
81.
Pardon me?
81.
81. Thank you, sir. On his shirt there, and the rocket in the background. That was launched at November 16th. We'll be celebrating that in a few weeks at 1:04 a.m. And there's Mark Usiak's photograph of that launch up there in the middle of the night. They had a scrub in August that was so magical. Though it didn't have a scrub, it's supposed to go at 8 in the morning, and everyone was out at Spaceview Park all night. German TV had two. Germany had two TV stations here. 3 or 4 of the locals were out there, and it scrubbed. But there was the launch that the launch director Blackwell Thompson. What's her first name? Charlie Blackwell Thompson. So far, her first and only launch, but they're gearing up for another launch a year from now. Okay, with the crew. So there's still some talk about the heat shield didn't perform quite properly on this mission, as you see a GoPro attached to the solar panels of the Orion spacecraft, lit up inside with a mannequin and all that. That's a real photo there, and no Photoshop or anything, as it did a quick whip around the moon and came back to Earth. And that's what Artemis 2 is going to do with 4 astronauts, is just go on a big loop around the moon and come back. They're not going to orbit the moon. In fact, they're not going to be 3,000 miles away. It's about as close as they're going to get to the moon, as I understand it. So, all these delays just shows, Marty, that space is hard. Okay, space is something that we're kind of taken for granted, I think, but it is hard, it is dangerous, it is full of unknowns still. And for example, we got the SpaceX astronauts back. Crew 8 landed quite safely. When was that? Saturday morning, in the middle of the morning. And 3 of the astronauts were fine, and one of them was hospitalized overnight in Pensacola Naval Hospital. I've not heard who it was, and out of respect to their medical privacy, we'll find out somewhere down the line, but I'm not going to even hint or suggest who it could be. But it's 225 days in weightlessness, and you're literally carried out of the Crew Dragon. Your legs are wobbly. They want to seat you down. They want to get your heart rate back to the flow of gravity, where when you're not in gravity, your heart's pumping in all directions equally, and your face can fill up puffily a little bit, but you're getting a lot more blood in your brain, maybe. And when you get to Earth, that's all changes. So imagine a 6-month, 9-month, and you journey to Mars, and the same thing's going to happen, despite these astronauts working out 2 hours a day on a treadmill and so forth. You're still health compromised by weightlessness. Certain things we need to know more about. There's a hint that kidneys are suffering in weightlessness on long duration flights of over 200 days. We do know that the human eye changes shape in weightlessness, and some astronauts come back and they never needed glasses, and now they need glasses for nearsightedness or to read by, because their their eyeball didn't go back the way it was. So still a lot to know about. So don't think that space is easy, and we're still taking baby steps as we try to live in space and establish a human presence that we have for over 22 years now. The International Space Station has been occupied by a crew of no fewer than 2 people. So, well, let's see. We've got Tommy Usiak. Oh, that's Mark and Carlton. You weren't there, Tom? Okay. Well, who took that picture then? Let me go back there and correct that. There's the guys in the field there. There they are, right there. All right, that is Mark Baker. I just thought that was your thin version there, Tommy, in the background there. But I did recognize Mark, and odd to see him without facial hair. Uh, and Carlton's apologized to you, okay? Tom Celentano, today is 10 years since the Antares rocket failed on liftoff in Virginia and the Cygnus freighter was lost. Good call there, Tom. I don't know if Mark Usiak, if you were there or not. And if he was, he'll probably send me some pictures to post on Facebook. That was a nasty little launch there. And who else? Dave Stanges, Steve Jokums. They've gotten Marty's question. They put their guess on there. We'll find out if they're right or not. And so let's advance here to the Kolcum Award that I was so honored to get. With there's a Rising Star Award. There was about 10 people that got a Space Worker Hall of Fame award. That's not our Space Worker Hall of Fame. We call ours the Space Walk of Fame. And Lifetime Achievement Awards were given out there. And I'm not going to go over everybody there because, frankly, you don't know them, but they're all great people. In fact, we've had a couple of them on Stay Curious. There is Harry Kolcum, who passed away over a decade ago with Bob Crippen at his retirement when Cripp was center director out there. Harry Kolcum was the editor of the Aviation and Space Weekly, the magazine that was, so to speak, the written record of all space flights, kind of like your Time, Newsweek, U.S. News and World Report. I suppose you got to be over 50 years old to remember those, Marty, in today's world. But I do miss holding the print in my hand and reading it. And but so what? That's the way every generation thinks about. They want to cling on to the past. I'm truly honored to get this award. It's about communications. There's a news award, okay, that was given to John Young, the editor of Spaceflight Now, one of the originators of Spaceflight Now. You'll see a picture of him here in just a minute. Like the astronaut, John Young was his name. There's the little badge that they gave me that now I can wear at meetings, given that award. Like I said, this is the Florida Committee, National Space Clubs all over, different clubs in Washington, Florida, California, Texas, a few other areas where they have space workers. And there's over 200 people that usually go to the luncheons. Well over 100, let's say, and they have some keynote speaker, as all places do. There's my sister, Cher Matthews. We're a year apart. Mom says we were quite close growing up, and my mother's 92 years old, and I'm so blessed that she got to know that I was honored like this. To me, it's a Lifetime Achievement Award for all the stuff that I've done with astronomy clubs, and I wrote a column on space and astronomy for 22 years in a Johnson City weekly newspaper in Tennessee, just the other side from Asheville, North Carolina. I'm between the Smokies and the Blue Ridge Mountains is where I spent most of my life. And my sister's been there. I love you, Cher. It's just so great that you were there. We had a great time. I kind of shut down over the weekend myself to spend time with her. So in here, is some of the people that showed up there to support the awards. That's Bob Seek on the left. Susie Cunningham is a liaison for NASA, a beautiful singer. She does the Space Com, that was the U.S. Space Congress for a while. There's our executive director, Gabriel Rothblatt. Everybody loved his jacket, which was Gabriel is part of the National Space Society, but he's also the chairman of the International Space Development Council. And this is a group of dreamers and think tanks that are trying to put humans in space not personally, permanently. And they're all about, big space stations that you can grow food on it, and the interior looks like friendly earth skies, maybe, and meadows and so forth. You've seen some of those concepts. So over my shoulders, Jennifer Munn. She's the administrator for the National Space Society, not the National Space Club, National Space Society's Ad Astra magazine. Larry Osterly, our board chairman, who has led this team here at the museum since the passing away of Karen Conklin in August. And when she was sick, Larry really stepped up to the plate as our board chairman and personally made everybody in our museum really feel good, not about Karen's situation, but that we were empowered to just keep on keeping on with our great staff, like Connie McDaniel there, you see, and Marty peeking over, someone taking a picture there. I think my sister took this picture, or maybe Anita took it. I think my sister took that. Just got you in there, Marty. Glad she did. I bet Anita's up beside you there.
Exactly, yeah. Anita's just to my
Anita
left.
Truex is off to the right side there. Sorry she got cut out, but we got Bob Seek in there, and they all gave me a little book. Actually, the Jane Hodges of our NASA luncheon that we do once a month, that I got so privileged to be invited to. There's a close up of the award there at the table. They got me passed around a book that you're all familiar with, Andrew Chalkin's definitive tome on Man of the Moon, that was the basis for Tom Hanks's series on Apollo. And this is from the personal library of Joanne Morgan, the only woman in the Apollo launch. Let me see, I've got that here. Here's Joanne, the story on her. Only woman in the launch firing room for Apollo 11, and she later did great things as the director of human spaceflight on there. But they passed this around to be signed by our group at the luncheon, and that means so much to me. Just Joanne come out of her library, Bob Seek, Lisa Malone, who won the award, Jane Hodges has won this award, and then Mr. Jolly, and I forget who the other person is that signed that there, because I can't make it out there, but one of our space workers. So, wow, this is just awesome. Of course, I've got a copy of it, paperback over here. In fact, let me just reach over here like I do. There's my paperback version, Marty, with a sticker on it. All right. And look at the spine. Yes, I've used it as a source for my 22 years of writing columns. So this one goes on the private shelf next to my award here, and I am so grateful. And Joanne Morgan, thank you so much. She's back in town, and we'll get her on a Stay Curious episode here. We've had her on a remote. She goes to a couple years ago, one of our first remotes that we did. So thank you all for all your congratulations on not only this award, but my promotion to director of the museum. There's not many changes going on and won't go on. It's pretty much status quo for me, except I'm empowered to do things without asking too many people's permission. Of course, the board's going to know what's going on, and Gabriel's going to be our executive director for at least the next 6 months. He is in charge of the foundation side of it, meaning all the money and getting us more solidified that way. And I'm in charge with the day-to-day operations and dealing with you folks out there in the Space Center. So Tom Colbert's watching from Ireland. Thank you, Tom, for finding us. Cliff Watson in Pomona, Australia. Thank you, Cliff. We're going to be bringing Cliff in and some of you all out there in an easier way. That's what John Graham is here for, to help Marty and I understand this. John is a real monster on Streamlabs and YouTube, and he knows how to do those things. And he's going to help these two old guys get more younger people involved here. And not that you all aren't young out there, okay, but I met quite a few of you. And those of you that have your hair, it's gray like mine, a lot of you there, Tommy. So, so let's see. Yeah, caught up with everybody's well wishes there. I see that there's another guest there, William Whiting. Says 11 miles an hour for the fastest speed ever recorded on an alien world by a lunar rover. Roughly the same speed of my zero-turn lawnmower Bill Whiting has there. Not only does he have a lawnmower, Marty, he's got a zero-turn lawnmower. He's got to rub that into all you that just got those John Deere straight ahead and throw it in reverse ones out there. So now we really miss Bill. We know that he's up in Michigan for a good reason, and can't wait for you to come back here, and so I can get you in our volunteer system here. So, all right, to go out with today's program. Wanted to just brag about a little outreach. There is Connie McDaniel and my sister in the pink hat. We did an event at Sam's house, which is the first building built on Merritt Island. And this is what I really enjoy doing, is setting up a table at these local events. They had a kind of a fall festival sort of thing going on. One of the realty companies at this wonderful Sam's. It's for kids. They have trails. They have all kinds of things on there. 20-minute trails and a 40-minute trail. Celebrate some of the history of the county with a few of the dinosaur bones, if you will, that have been unearthed around here. So great outreach there, and thank you, Connie McDaniel, for your just unselfish and faithful volunteerism. And she'll be helping me out a lot this weekend at the memorabilia show. And I believe I said hi to everybody here on the list there. So we did get to see a launch. My sister got to see a launch Saturday of some more another Falcon 9 rocket with 20 some satellites for the constellation that Elon Musk is building up there. The rocket's actually can't see it. It already went through its maximum Q when the exhaust vaporizes into the sky there. But quite a few people watching it. And Marty, you couldn't believe the people that came up and were like, I didn't know there was a launch out here. Today, there's really no system on the beach to let people aware that there is a launch. And maybe that's something that we could come up with outreach for the museum and promote the museum some more. Of course, that would take more volunteers out there to do stuff. So, but what a beautiful weekend. Finally had low humidity, and I thoroughly enjoyed it with family and friends. Well, Marty's space trivia question of the day. Go ahead, repeat the question and the answer.
Apollo 17 set the lunar rover speed record. How fast did it go? Now, Steve Holcomb said 11.2 miles an hour. And Dave Stange and Bill Whiting said 11 miles an hour. And they're probably, I'll say both right. However, I got
three of them right.
Yeah, that's right, all three. But my record shows 11.1 miles an hour. So don't know which one's correct. I'm going to say they're all correct. And you all get it 100%.
That's right. And I'll have something special for you guys at Shuttle Fest. You better believe. We're going to come up with some things that we can mail you and that sort of stuff as this progresses. As Marty gave me a whole sheet of questions that he's been working on, and we'll try to make them current events with what's going on, and sometimes maybe not. But what an appropriate one on this date, 1969. Boeing got the contract to build this, the lunar rover. And by the way, all three of them are still on the moon, and all three of them cameras witnessed the liftoffs. There's no doubt that somebody will bring, if not the whole thing back, pieces of it. But they say, Marty, that all they have to do is put fresh batteries in it and turn the key on, and probably work just fine up there. But boy, it'd be interesting to see, the patina and how much dust has come on them in 50 years. And once we do go back to the moon and see these legacy sites of Apollo, that will be an important scientific analysis of how much dust is on top of these vehicles in half a century. And then it'll give a baseline for how much is being, how many, how this process works. Where would that dust come from? Because there's no atmosphere. Come from meteor impacts nearby that could be small enough to throw stuff up in the air, yet not big enough to throw stuff up in the air, but small enough to be visible from Earth. Though with amateur astronomers and their wonderful equipment and automatic cameras, the moon's virtually looked at 24/7 for such impacts like that. So, all right. And thank you, Carlton Bailey, for sharing your beautiful photography. Like so many of you, we consider you valuable friends of our museum. And I've made so many great friends with you all through this journey that we've done on Stay Curious the last 4.5 years. We're probably approaching 1,160 episodes this week. I'll tally it up. So thank you, Marty. Man Space, Mitch Rothman said it was Gene Cernan on Apollo 17 that reached the highest speed on the LRV. And that's right, Mitch. Steve Jokums also pointed that out. And what I find interesting, talking about this rover, Marty, let me throw that picture up there again. And you have met a couple of these astronauts. The commander drove, all right, in the left-hand seat there, as all commanders do, and they never let the pilot take it for a spin. And I think I did ask Charlie Duke that at one of those cocktail evenings, Marty. Did you ever drive the lunar rover? And he says, "Oh no, John said I couldn't drive it. The commander had to drive it." And I go, "Well, there was no. What are you, like a teenager, and your dad wouldn't let you take it around the block?" He laughed, and he said, "No, that's just how we did it. It was a little more to it than you thought in training, as well as swapping the people out in the seats there. As you see, the seats are just a fancy space age lawn chair there. But the wheels were made out of mesh, metal mesh, and quite an advancement. The first all-electric car. All right. I'm sure it's not the first, but definitely the first one driven on an alien world. And the whole concept of Teslas and all the other electric vehicles started in a general way with this technology. So, well, thank you everybody for watching today. I can't wait to see Mitch this weekend and talk more about direction that he can help us. He's got a great program going on Facebook. You need to be a member of his group, Man Space. And all of you out there, I'm looking forward to integrating you into what you can bring to our museum here in the way of content as well as financial support from some of the organizations and businesses that you all belong to. So tomorrow, Marty, you're going to be gone, and I'm going to miss you. Marty's, like I said, going on a family sabbatical, but John Graham has got him all set up with the computer, and we're going to try to bring Marty in over the corner here, one of these corners, and learn more about how to bring people around the world to our program. So we'll be asking you, Cliff Watson, to click a something that John's going to tell you to click, and we'll have you on here so we can talk to you too down there. So looking forward to taking this program a little bit fancier and more 21st century with the way things are really being done on YouTube. Thanks to John Graham, and his wife Samantha is going to help us do some STEAM programming. So tomorrow, Marty, is the launch of John Glenn, STS 95. Let me consult the scroll. When was that, Marty? Do you remember? Consulting the scroll here. 1998. All right, so that will be the 17th anniversary of that. 16th, excuse me. 6 and 7 is 14. So that'll be the 16th anniversary with STS 95. Kurt Brown, commander of that, with Lindsay as the pilot. And we'll celebrate that as we should. The great John Glenn from Ohio, a senator when I was a photographer for the Associated Press, putting myself through Ohio State. Met him numerous times, photographing him. And we'll have a good program on the late, great John Glenn, American hero and one of my heroes growing up. So thank you guys for helping me today, and thank you all for supporting our museum, and thank you all for having your piece of this Kolcum Award. And I really mean that. When I look at this, I'm going to be thinking of all the friends like you out there that have helped make me the person I am and the person that I'm known for here on the Space Coast. I couldn't do it without you guys and girls. So until tomorrow, when we talk about the John Glenn return to flight at age 77, I'm Mark Marquette saying we can't wait to see you in our museum to bridge the space between us. Thank you.